Welcome to the Globetrottin'ADs. This podcast is for you, athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and program associates based in international schools around the world. The Globetrottin'ADs is proudly hosted by Nick DeForest from the American International School Vienna and Matt Fleming from the American International School of Budapest. Here they are now, Nick and Matt and the Globetrottin'ADs.
That right there was the beautiful sound of educators talking it up in between sessions at an in-person conference. Hello, welcome to the Globetrottin'ADs. This is Nick DeForest, once again by myself, but I promise this will be the last episode without Matt Fleming. And for good reason, because we're going back to the Coaching for a Greater Purpose conference. If you listened last episode, I had some interviews that I did with people at the conference a few weeks ago now in Brussels. Well, we're going back there for a roundtable discussion that I facilitated on Sunday morning. There were about 20 people in the room, but you'll distinguish about 8 main voices that'll come out throughout the discussion here. It's a tad longer than our other ones, but really great, back and forth. It starts slow. Yes, the other room quiets down after a minute or two, so bear with us. But some great back and forth. There were coaches and ADs in the room, coaches and ADs from the same school, and you'll hear that as they go back and forth. It's a great discussion, one I like to have. I've had with a lot of people, and I don't think there's a right answer, especially because of how different each school is around the world and how many different coaches we have and ADs we have and programs we have. But it comes down to how much is too much. And that's from an AD perspective. How much is too much for our coaches? There's so many great things out there. We want them to do so much. We want them to have extra practices. We want them to be available to the parents and to the kids and take this course and do this and do that. But the majority of our coaches work a full-time job, whether it's a teacher or wherever else they are, and they're only doing this after the fact. So I'm always mindful of really not giving our coaches too much, but I know I do. I know I overload some of them, and some coaches suck everything in and want more and more and more, and some coaches are just trying to keep their head above water. So it's a topic that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to hear some coaches' perspectives about what they feel is too much and what they value as something they'll do extra, I would say. And it doesn't really answer the question, unfortunately, but it's a great back and forth. There's lots of topics that rise to the surface during this roundtable discussion. A lot of them focus on salary, compensation, but then also about appreciation and what coaches feel and what ADs can do to make the coaches feel a part of their team. So enough of an intro. I'll turn it over. You'll hear a little bit of an intro from me in the room talking to the group, and then the episode kicks off. I'll come back in the middle with a bit of a break before it's over, but enjoy, and I hope you feel like you were sitting in the discussion in Brussels at the Coaching for a Greater Purpose conference. The roundtable itself is called "How Much Is Too Much," and it's something as an AD that I struggle with all the time when I get new ideas or go to a conference and wow, that's great. We could implement that, and oh man, my coaches really need to do this. This is great. And then I get down to it and I talk to them like, wow, they're teaching every day. You guys as coaches are teaching every day, and yeah, do they have time for that? How great is something? Is it worthwhile to add something more to the plate? So actually this topic is a bit of interest specifically to me because I think my coaches don't tell me the truth. to be honest. Yeah, Nick, great idea. Yeah, we'll do that. And some of them do it right away, and some of them take a while, and they get it done. So kind of, yeah, the idea was, what are you guys doing? How much can you go, and how important is coaching PD or the extra things that I think are being added on everybody's plate, especially in the last few years. So, yeah, turn it over to anybody. Let's kind of start the discussion on that of what you think is too much, or maybe what you're doing, and is that enough for you? Coming from a coach perspective, some people are just coaches, or ADs. There's five ADs in here.
I'll kick it off.
Please.
I'm gonna ask my two coaches here if what I give you guys is too hard.
I don't know yet, because we've only had one season together, and that season was unique due to COVID. We were able to start the swim season again last year after a year of missing it, and so for me personally, I wanted to make it work kind of at any cost, and so I was willing to get it done. But now that we're swinging back towards a more normal schedule with the school and things like that, I don't know what it'll be like. But so far it's fine, and I think you didn't ask anything new of us last year. I think it was great that you actually asked us to teach you what swimming was all about. It's been a while since you had a swim program. And it was supportive, but going forward, we'll see.
It's that starting next year, we're gonna have middle school fully integrated into ICC. So I'm looking ahead to see that this season is already looking at as being more than last season.
Right.
And then we're gonna add middle school on top of that. Is that gonna be too much? Because then there's more travel, there's more more practices,
more responsibility. Do you mind if I ask how long you've been at the school?
This will be my 17th year.
So you're 17, and he's the new AD.
I'm year one.
So,
Well,
I think a lot of times, I empathize with you. I've been in a situation where, and I'm only speaking from personal experience. I've been literally in pretty much every region. I've been 25 years overseas. I've been in Latin America, been in Asia for over a decade. Coming here in Europe it's a different landscape. There's people who stay at the schools very long time, and talking with coaches is how much. It's the first time I've ever experienced a coach say, "Well, I'm working one more week. I want to get paid more." I've never experienced that ever. This is how we've always done it. So, and I'm not saying anything on you at all. 17 years at a school, that should be applauded. That it's obviously you've dedicated a lot to the school. But for an athletic director, coming to a European school, it is a different landscape. I've never experienced anything quite like that, like what it is. Leagues, dealing with different ADs again that have been at schools for large amounts of time. So I don't mean to keep going off the path, but
No, I mean,
it's interesting.
It
Just
relates.
as soon as you mentioned that, I appreciate that you are open for your coaches' feedback, because at the end of the day, I think as athletic directors, if you think that you're the main wheel and you're not part of the spoke, I work for a Hall of Fame basketball coach named Morgan Wooten, and I remember the first thing he would say to coaches before the week started: if you think if the coach that comes up to me and says, "This is how I do it, this is me, my team, whatever," he said, I shut down, because that's a guy or girl that doesn't think that they can progress. And I think you're very humble to do that. I think it's you want your program to be better. You want to be better. As soon as you said that, I was like, much respect.
No,
huge respect.
The reason I say that it's not humility. I have a head of school who's my boss.
Yeah.
And she doesn't look over my shoulder. She doesn't micromanage me. So if I'm the AD, obviously the coaches work for the program. And if you are an AD and you don't ask for feedback and allow them to succeed and make mistakes and correct them, it's a problem. I can't do it myself. I have to depend on, and you and I had this discussion yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't do it myself. Whether I'm new or whether I've been there for 20 years. If you're gonna run a program successfully, we're all in it together and pushing it in the same direction. So I take the lead from my head of school, who doesn't micromanage me. She hired me and trusted me that I could build and run a program. And I have to hire the same coaches who I trust to build a program with my support. So that's my thinking.
But it sort of sounds like you're in a position that you're not satisfied of coming in and saying this is my way. You in saying this in front of all of us shows that you want to have a collaborative approach of what's best for the kids, and coming in and thinking that you are the man or woman or whatever gender, that you're the boss. I don't think that's a road for success. I think it's that you need to be humble. You need to put yourself up to coaches and say that, I've been in your role. I know it's tough because I don't know if you've ever had this, anybody, and I'm talking way too much, but I hate when someone says to you, yeah, but I got kids, man. Well, I have a kid too. Coaches spend a lot of time away from their kids. AD spend more. But it's opening yourself up to people and trying to put yourself in their shoes, I think, is an important way to show to people that I know what you do and I appreciate it. So
I fully agree with that. I work at a boarding school in Switzerland, Tassis, and I became the AD 4 years ago, right before COVID. But until then, I was just a regular PE and math teacher, dorm parent, helping out with the musical if we need to. And, all of us, at least in education, wear different hats. And when I took over as AD, the person was like, I've been in your shoes. I know exactly what it feels like. And at least in my perspective, being an AD, my objective is, as you guys coaches, I want you to focus on the practice, the games, the students. And if there's anything administrative that I can take away from you to make that easier, let me do it. I'll try my best at least to figure it out, I just need, tell me what your roster is for that, so I could sort those things for you. But being in their shoes, being able to connect to the coaches and just have conversations. And, I get one meeting a year with coaches. Right? It's in 3 days. And other than that, I just need to, hey Nick, how's it going? Hey Jason, how's it going? Just have those casual conversations and, bring a little bit of work in here, a little bit of work in there, but it doesn't feel overwhelming then. And I think our roles as ADs is to support the coaches as much as possible, right? Without them, the program doesn't exist. So what can we do to help them while we have an insane plate that we all know as well? So
It's a good point, taking something off to doing more. Like you mentioned, you're at 17 years, right? And how about having long time coaches that maybe don't want to change, but you have great ideas and you want to go in the same direction. So taking things off, like you said, if it's administrative, would help. What about some coaches or some other, you feel like you're doing too much? Or, it's kind of preaching to the choir. All you coaches and ADs came here to learn more, right? The week before school or the first week of school. But is there an example of maybe people that maybe not yourself, that you think you've been asked too much to do in a 2.5 month season, after your day job?
I would change it just slightly. So I'm an AD and a coach, but a lot of us, 17 years in school, whatever, 20 years. I went 20 years in Europe, but the school year hasn't changed. I think it's 190 or whatever, 187 contact days. But how much more a teacher is asked to do is exponential. 1 to 2 mandatory meeting days after school. So when can you practice, things like that. Our school will do accreditation this year. We all know what that is. That's another bunch of meetings to fill out, the standard forms to make us look good to NISA. You're like, how is that helping kids? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I say in front of the staff every year. Like, you're asked to do more and more every year. I just say to you, like, you're the best people I can put in front of our kids. What can I do to get you to coach? But we all know that if you look around coaching staffs, I don't know exactly, I'm new at my school, but like, we have more outside coaches than inside coaches, and that was not the case at all 20 years ago. Because teachers have more to do. And it's not more time in the school day with the kids, it's more time after school. So how does that, like, what can, I don't know, we can't do anything about that, but I would love to do something about it, but.
I think our faculty would second that. I think there's more meetings now than ever before, more stuff to do during the day, less planning time, less classroom time, less this, that and the other, which then impacts on their decision, what am I going to do at 4 o'clock?
Coaching's the first thing to go usually.
Yeah.
You know, like,
But is it a periodical thing? Is it like an evaluation thing for the next phase, or is it every year?
You would have to ask leadership, but I think it's you know, putting one more thing on at a time.
IB meetings, playground meetings, like I don't
New
dispute.
programs.
If I could just ask everyone here, like at your school, are you, when you sign your contract, are you under that you have to do something after school? Like the last school I was at, the International School of Beijing, if you were a PE teacher, you had to coach 2 sports. That's in your contract. Everyone in their contract you had to do 1 co-curricular activity a year. And one of my jobs is in May, the deputy head would give me a sheet of paper with every single name, and they would say, you know, in 10 days, I need you to fill out and tell us who has done something. And I would take a pink highlight for any sports, a green highlight for like a elementary ASA, and then a pink one for fine arts. And then I would give it to them. And those people that didn't, they would call their principal and say, look, Jim hasn't done anything in the last 2 years. We'd like to have a meeting with him. And they would say, you're under contract to do something after school. That's part of your contract, your commitment. Where the school I'm at right now, when we've said as a co-curricular program, we said like, we need your help. We need your help, as just like you said, the meetings are getting more, and people are like, no, I don't have the time to do an ASA. I don't have time to coach. I don't have time to do an activity. And it makes it hard for us. That's why you start to get more outside coaches, because people are like, nah, man, I'm overworked. I don't want to be there 3 times a week doing this. Not everyone, obviously, but
What can we do to make it easier? Coaches, what would lighten your load?
The constraint is time. So you need to outsource time, basically, right? Do I hear it correctly that the ADs, you have trouble to hard time to assist your coaches other than administrative things? Or
I think it depends on the place, but I think the issue is that teachers and coaches in general, if they're internal, don't want to give up extra time, and that's why they get away from coaching. And for those of you that were at the Roundtable yesterday, I shared that, you know, I did a survey with my coaches, and it was time. Number one thing is I need the time, but I can't give you time. So I tried to find a way with admin. I'm like, hey, could we make a system where you get, for every year you coach that same sport, you get $100 extra as your stipend for coaching. You know, and the school agreed to it. I said, 30 years, cap it. That's $3,000 of 30 years of dedication.
Yeah.
That's nothing, come on. And they were like, yeah, that's right. Okay, let's incentivize it. You know, so we just have to be creative. We can't substitute A with A. You need to find C to substitute it or something like that. Yeah.
In my position, I'm a teacher and I'm coaching, and I think it's a lot of appreciation. And it's not only the monetary appreciation, it's the appreciation after the season, it's appreciation after practice. I think we all want to have coaches who are passionate about it. Yeah, you can have a contract and you put in, you have to do an after-school activity. Okay, I have 60 minutes of after-school activity, check mark, it's done. But you want to have a coach who does the activity and tries to find maybe Saturday he comes in and let the kids shoot a little bit. tries to have maybe against another school friendly, tries to do a little bit more. He wants to share the passion. I think it's really about the extrinsic and the intrinsic things. We heard a lot this terminology over these last 2 days, but I think the beneficial of the intrinsic, everything grows healthy, and it's not only on papers. And I think everything is about the appreciation, and this is actually, I think, also from the ADs, this is the magic. If you give somebody, I don't know, some money or more on a salary check, or you have all the time a good word and say thank you. I think this thank you is sometimes more worth when you are working, and a lot of us know that, if you're doing 60-hour weeks, and you have a little bit more on your paycheck, yeah, it's on the scale, nice, but after 20 years, you don't care anymore. And it's the situation or the moment when the AD comes in and they say, we really appreciate you, we want you, thank you for your service.
Can I ask, does your AD,
He's a real dick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rashid.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rashid.
I just was gonna say, when he brought up the, and I guess this could go ahead, but sorry. And you brought up a great, you brought up, no, honestly, you brought up a great point of, the appreciation part. What, I'm sorry to put you under the fire goals, but like, what appreciation other than thank you, could the AD do for you? Like, and I'll give you an example. Like at the end of every season, I take out all the coaches, pump them with food and beer. Like they go for like 4 hours every season, and I've done that every place I've been. I try to get as much clothing, golf shirts, dry fit shirts for them to work out with, hoodies, jackets. Like I try to do all that. But what is it as a coach that makes you feel like you're appreciated outside the thank you?
So I'm running the basketball department, there's a department there. So I think it's really important to give the coaches a place of belonging, that they belong, that you not micromanage, that you trust them. And when the coaches belong and they have a say in what we do, because they are with the kids all the time. Actually, you're only the guy who's doing mostly the administration. You don't know everyone really by name. You don't know how this kid had, what for school that he had, and you don't calling the parents and talking to the kid and this happened. You do administration. You know a lot about all these things, but specifically about this team. So I think belonging, that you understand that his time is really important for the entire program. Time, I think, is really important. Yes, stuff like that, events, social events. Thank you. I think sometimes it's the word thank you, to go in there and have a chat and say thank you. You're doing a great thing.
Let's go with that. Anyone else feel appreciated by your school, by your AD? You wanted to say something anyway.
Yeah, the going down the list and color coding every member of staff and putting them slotting them into, like, I wouldn't want people involved in my program that didn't want to be there, right? I think that's like
I don't disagree.
A tragic way to like have to find people to do stuff. But I'm not an AD, but like if I was an AD, I guess it's really difficult for an AD to be an expert in every sport, right? And it's impossible, right, for people to do that. So like if you think about your coaching team within a particular, so like soccer, within that coaching team, people are going to have different capacities, right, to do things. And probably amongst the whole team, you're probably going to have, some people who've got way higher capacity than others. And so, for example, like at our place, we had my coaching partner has got incredible capacity, right, to help the program. So we would run the varsity, but then he would go to the tryouts for like the middle school. He would actually, like, sometimes we would take the JV team as well, right, and coach them, and like all through the program. And actually this guy, like, he's doing stuff in the elementary school, he's doing stuff all through the program. But this year he's not doing it. And actually, like, and it's going to be a huge, like, miss to the program. And it's partly because of this issue of, like, feeling valued, really. Like, just feeling valued. And it's not about money. It's about that idea that he's doing all of this extra. He's got the capacity to do it, right? It's like pretty easy for him to do it, but it's like, what's that missing piece, right? Of making people feel valued. And if I was an AD, I would look for those people, and I'd be like, right, you're the head of football, right, or you're the whatever it is that I'd go and ask them. Like, once you identify that person, go see them. What was it that I can do to make you feel more valued?
I think that's a.
Can you imagine if somebody said that to you? Imagine if an AD came to you and said that. I'd be like, I'll run through a brick wall.
Brilliant, but is that not this value that you're talking about? He has to compare to something to make him come. And I think due to COVID, most of the people have enjoyed the family time and prefer not to go to on extra time and stay with the family. And that's what you have to go over it. In my case, it was, I had no job. I found a new job, and this is on top. So I took the opportunity to get into socializing and meeting new people and working with kids. And that's, for me, is ideal. But people that are working in school, they want to have the time off from school and not to have more. So they probably have to enjoy this time and do not want to probably optimize this with extra time from school or with kids. They probably do something else. So I think COVID is a big issue, what we have faced the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
We've been having some healthy discussions, I'd say, over this weekend, and some arguments, we'll be honest, and bouncing different ideas backwards and forwards. But one of the things two things I think from the conference is, I think we have to get much more student opinion to bring here, because I think this is all unidirectional. We're all talking as adults about what the kids want, and I don't think we have any data from the kids or opinion. And the second thing, we have so many problems with what we're doing, it seems. Generally what we're doing is all great, we're providing a lot of support for kids, but we have so many problems that maybe for some schools, and it should be individual schools need to look at their individual programs, but maybe for some schools the whole model is broken. Maybe it doesn't work, but we keep, and one of the great things I think we go to this conference, if we all go away and all of us do exactly the same thing, I think we're going to fail, personally. And we've been having a load of discussions about, should we have seasons in 3 months, and we'd have to explain this one before people jump down my throat, or year round, but you do once a week football, once a week swimming, or once a week basketball. But the huge fear is, but we've got to prepare for that tournament. How are we going to do that? And we're worrying about coaches not being able to give up 3 times a week. I don't know, there's so many discussions going around that I think for some schools, the model is broken. But I don't think we're going to change it but that's how it works. That's how we've got a tournament in November.
The way I see it,
what
I wanted to add to that is, first of all, we need to distinguish between coaches that are school staff and you have coaches who are not. So first of all, we need to map that and to see what's the difference and the needs of that. The coaches from school and the coaches from. I'm coach. I used to coach, but I was not with school. I had another job, a day job, and then. Firstly, secondly, what I was thinking is, let's say the system and the mechanism is not changed. It's exactly the same. But remember the stickers that John O'Sullivan did on the wall? So 90% of them was on the left-hand side, all the soft skills. This is something that we want to implement with the kids, right? The athletes. So this is, I see it as a coach to the athlete. There's a nature of relationship, and there's also a nature of relationship between the AD and the coach. So, in many industries, you take one thing that worked and you take it to the other industry. So here, if the soft skills is something that I think unanimously, this is another thing, and we're talking about self-significance, talking about, the whole theme of this conference. What can you, the ADs, do for your coaches that when they are, if I take those notes, that the technical ones are on court, and the left-hand side notes are on court as well as off court. Does it make sense what I'm saying? I'll continue. So if you, ADs, take those attributes that you can do towards your coaches, it will be sustainable after the season. Meaning, how can you enrich your coaches in such way and not extrinsic motivation? You were talking about intrinsic motivation. 100 euros per year, 2,000 euros per year, it's extrinsic motivation. We want to work from here.
Yeah.
And I guess we're all here because of that. So to give something, to give some kind of an added value to the coach that would go beyond the season. And this is, I think, where the focus should be.
If I could add something, Nick, what's your name? He just,
Neil.
Neil, I agree 100% with what Neil said. It's, schools are very different, environments are very different in different countries, even though we can say, oh, it's Europe, but the reality that ADs face in different places is different. And maybe the model is broken. And I think, there's two problems that we're discussing mostly here. Retaining coaches and recruiting coaches. When you talk about recognition and people feeling valued, people feeling like they can collaborate with what's going on. I can tell you firsthand with Guinea in Paris, I feel great as a coach to be able to give my opinion on decisions. For me, like I'm somebody who's always involved in what I do. I want to do the next year better than last. And if the AD comes to me and asks me a question, which direction should we go with this? I'm super happy. I feel like I'm part of it. That's enough for me. It's not, the money doesn't matter to me. I just want to be part of something and be part of the decisions and steering the boat somewhere together. I love to collaborate with people. So in the retaining piece, this is huge. Now in the recruiting piece, what Neil said is on point. There are schools, for example, we were having a discussion with Nick, Nick's presentation yesterday, talking about how many practices a week you allow a kid who does club. And I allow 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3. You see that people have different solutions according to their conditions. Nick said something about having about 400, 500 kids. If he doesn't do that, if he's not flexible with that, he doesn't have a team. So maybe on the AD role, if you want to recruit better, maybe you should find different ways to recruit people. 3 times a week is too much commitment. Why do I have to practice 3 times a week in a varsity team? Maybe I should try this 2 times a week. Maybe people will come if it's 2 times a week. Maybe I can have 2 coaches that will work together. One will be there 1 day, the other one will be 2 days. Ways to mix it up and find a solution that works for you in your own situation. I had many different. I come from a different perspective because I worked in Medical School Rio in South America, many years as a teacher, and they opened a new school, and I had 4 years of experience as an AD there. And then when I came here, I'm back to the teacher coaching role. So I've seen both perspectives, and I feel your challenge. Recruiting for me there was always the number 1 problem. Retaining not so much, but recruiting is always challenging. In Brazil, the problem was, how can you find somebody qualified who speaks English and has 2 afternoons a week? This person has a really good job there. This person is not available. And for what you can pay, they wouldn't come just for that kind of activity. So we struggled. So we decided to go on the road of, okay, let's recruit somebody who's not bilingual. Let's give them online courses in English so they can get the vocabulary terminology. Let's pair them with a teacher from the school. And then maybe in 2-3 years, they're there. So they're excellent on the X's and O's. And in 2-3 years, they would get to the language. So that worked sometimes there. It's about being creative with what you have.
I think the money is part of the solution and also part of the problem. Because the money
always the money.
The money is creates a transactional relationship for some coaches, right? It's the reason they do it. It's the wrong reason.
Yeah,
right?
unfortunately,
I'm sure we would all agree that it's the wrong reason to be coaching. But it creates this transactional nature, right? But also this idea of using the money to retain, not to recruit, but using it to retain. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. So the people that you want to retain, if you got this head of this idea that I had before, right? Like a head of a program.
Mhm.
Like they could then do the hiring right, for you, and they could do assessment of coaches as well, right? Because no AD is going to be able to go and look at everything and really give like an accurate picture of who's doing a good job and who's progressing, and actually build like a coaches, like a way for coaches to actually improve as well.
That's kind of what I've started is, like I've been heading up the volleyball program for a while, so I kind of look at myself overseeing the whole thing, even though I'm just the varsity coach.
Yeah.
I still look at the JV coaches and just say, hey, maybe this pair next year shouldn't work, even when I was just a coach. And then I do the same with soccer. I've got Jack, and boys soccer I've got Alex or whatever it is, and then kind of have them to oversee. I'm like, this one's not coaching next year. If you got someone in mind, start talking it up, and then see from there.
And use the money to incentivize people to get better,
Yeah.
right, and to improve as coaches, rather than just to find somebody who's willing.
All right, let's take a quick break here. That was some great discussion back and forth. Focuses on time, compensation, alternate ways to do things, not just putting Band-Aids on a broken system. But really good back and forth. Not done yet. We're going to hear from Kukri, and then when we come back, there'll be about 10 minutes left, and Jason talks a lot about a nice gesture that wasn't so well received. And then there's some great discussion that follows, a bit of a surprise for a lot of people in the room, but we'll leave that to you, and then we'll close it out in the room, and I'll come back to you next episode with Matt. Kukri are a global multi-sport clothing brand specializing in providing the world's most prestigious schools with bespoke made and designed team uniforms for students of all standards and abilities. If you are frustrated by inconsistent colors, branding, costs, and sizing across your school's uniforms, then it's time to discuss an offering where every sport is available from softball to soccer for male and female athletes at rates to suit your budget. To find out how Kukri could elevate the apparel of your student athletes to a professional level, email the team at contact@kukrisports.com. A dedicated sales manager will offer you a quote today. Mention this ad and receive a special offer on your coach or PE staff order.
The first thing that he said is, I don't do it for the money, or I don't care for the money. And it's interesting, we haven't had a pay increase in over 15 years. So we went to our CFO this past year and said, like, how can we give the coaches, obviously in international school, you definitely don't coach for the money because you don't really make much. But we figured out a thing of just how long the seasons are. And so the average was about maybe 17 to 20% raise. Not a lot, but it was a nice gesture. So the first coaching meeting, I had just come back from being sick with COVID, and I wanted to have the CFO just explain why we did it. To be fair to everyone. Man, when that meeting was done, I had 2 long-term coaches that were going around. They only gave us 17%. Like this is horrible, and blaming me. I mean, all I did was say, hey, we need to give them a raise, and it was, to me, I felt it was like embarrassing. It was like they attacked me and they attacked the CFO of just trying to do something nice, of exactly what you said. Hey, we understand that maybe you're not getting paid enough. Let's try to find a system where we can give you like 17% now, but maybe after 2 years, as you guys all know, in Europe, the inflation rate has gone pretty crazy. In Poland, it's been insane with gas, food. It's just a noticeable increase. And I empathize with people. I empathize with, our school, I think, has done a pretty good job listening to the whole faculty in regards to, I don't know if you have housing allowance, but how increasing housing allowance. So that's why we did it for the coaches. But it's crazy. As soon as we give them a raise, it's not enough. And it's interesting looking at what has happened with COVID the last few years, and you really see who the people are like you who couldn't care less that you get money, but you're out there with the kids during the most hardest times. And I think when coaches miss that point, it's sad to have them in your program.
Well, I couldn't disagree more. You know, I'm fully aware that schools have budgets and have to be able to run the school and stay afloat and not close because of financial problems. And you know, we talk about what we value. Different schools pay coaches different amounts of money, right? So I'm also on the union at my school, so I'm a representative of the employees to the administration as well, and so I get to see what budgets look like and talk about how money is allocated and, you know, on a monthly basis. And, you know, this is the intersection of a great many things, but money really is at the center of it in some ways, because the schools have to deal with their budgets and we have to get paid, right? And we have to feel valued. Now, I don't know what other people get paid at other schools for coaching, but I feel my school pays very well. And I planned on coaching for many years. I bought a home, I have a budget, and I'd like to keep coaching. I'd like to keep continually getting that money, you know, because I've budgeted for it. I don't want to be driven out by an excessive demand for work. Okay, I'll be honest, I've walked away from a leadership position as a teacher in my school because of this very issue. It's like that money is not worth it anymore because I'm overloaded and I'm burnt out. So I'd hate to see schools turn around and say, and all coaches go, well, I'm not really in it for the money. Okay, that is true, I hope, in our hearts. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, is if I'm not going to get paid, I'm not going to give it away for free. I have other things I could either make money at or fill up my time with. I have other passions. So I think we need to be careful to say to ourselves, you know, it's not about the money, because it can be about the money.
Yeah, but I thought when I said it's not about the money, I talked from a very privileged position in our school.
Right, exactly.
Because in our school, doesn't matter what kind of activity you're doing in any kind of sector of the school, it has been the value of the hour has been agreed upon teachers and administration. So whatever extra activity, they have a point system that is according to the number of hours that you're invested to that activity. So coaching demands X amount of hours, you're gonna get X amount of points, that means X amount of money. So whoever does extra at ASP,
if you're a teacher,
yeah, if you're a teacher, you're getting exactly the same amount of stipend for the hour. So that's not very common. So I talk from a privileged position to say, okay, it's not that I don't care about the money, it's just I'm not 100% invested in what I do just because I want to earn a little more. But of course the money is important for me. I'm not saying that.
At the end of the day, it can be. I'm not saying it has to be, but it can be.
Yeah.
It can matter, and we shouldn't ignore that. You know, in France, there's labor laws we have to follow. We have to follow rules. You know, but what happens behind the scene is schools at the administrative level are making decisions, and you know, what a dream it would be if ASP could hire more PE teachers, and they only teach, instead of 5 classes, 4 classes, and then their other 20% of their contract is they coach, right? That happens at other schools. We don't do that, you know, because it's more money. It's you're hiring more teachers, and payroll is the #1 expense at any school like ours. So,
and the British system is a little bit like that. But what you get at the end of the day is a lot of unhappy coaches because they are overworked and overwhelmed with, you know, feeling like they're not paid enough.
The North Anglia British school systems, they don't pay their coaches anything.
Yes, because it's part of the contract.
Yeah, when I worked at ISB Beijing, the North Anglia coaches, the school was right across the street. The coaches there that coached all the time. You know, we'd see them a lot. When we'd have our coaches social, we'd say to the AD, stop on by with Joe, so and so, or whatever, and come have a few beers with us, because, you know, they were doing it for nothing, and they were helping our program, and that we were able to play some games. They got paid zero, and they had to coach. That was the crazy thing, is they had to coach. So
get twos and have twos, right?
Yeah, it was bad for them.
No, I was just going to follow up on that again. If they're, you know, burnt out and things and they're coaching for free, probably their model's wrong. They're probably doing too much coaching in 1 week and not spreading out over a longer period of time. Again, it probably just comes down to this is how it's all set up. We've got to fit it in. We've got to do this. We've got to make it work, rather than taking a step back and saying, there's got to be a different way.
We don't need
There's got to be a different way, because there is.
Yeah, if I could just, I wanted to say one more thing, but I forgot what I was gonna say, that you talked about this, I don't wanna say soft skills, but you know, that other 4/5 of what coaches do. I feel a good AD does that for their coaches, like those things are the things that we coaches value in our athletic directors, you know, and like Gustavo said, when we feel like our ideas are valued, our time is valued, and our commitment is valued, then we're gonna have a good program, you know, whatever the model is, you know, whatever the model winds up being, I think.
What is valued though? Can you
I think-
define valued?
Valued.
Saying thank you.
He mentioned
at the end of
it.
the season?
I don't know what your name is. I mean, Rashid mentioned it. It's very simple. Being listened to. I mean, we talk about listening to our athletes, you know, student voice and all that stuff. As ADs, I take that philosophy as well with our coaches, and I think you mentioned being listened to and being appreciated and belonging. You know, I think those are the key words.
Like I said, it's an intersection of things, and I think each school probably has to define it and live with it, you know, in order to get the best out of the program.
And like you said, you will always have the people who have a transactional relationship with that program, but you know who they are. You always have them, but you know that there are some people that don't. There's some people that want to truly collaborate and move that program forward to a better place. And you know, if you allow these people space, you only gain.
Well, I appreciate all you guys for coming and being able to lead this discussion. It was great, back and forth. So thank you for coming to this session Sunday morning, and thank you for coming here. It was great discussion.
Until next week, this has been another episode of the Globetrottin' ADs.